is the lion and the cat, which comes from the Brown Fairy book. Far away on the other side of the world there lived, long ago, a lion and his younger brother, the wild cat, who were so fond of each other that they shared the same hut. The lion was much bigger and stronger of the two. Indeed, he was much bigger and stronger than any of the beasts that dwelt in the forest, and besides, he could jump farther, run faster than all the rest. If strength and swiftness could gain him a dinner, he was sure to never be without one. But when it came to cunning, both the grizzly bear and the serpent could get the better of him, and he was forced to call in the help of the wild cat. Now, the young wild cat had a lovely golden ball, so beautiful that you could hardly look at it except through a piece of smoked glass, and he kept it hidden in the thick fur muff that went around his neck. A very large old animal, since dead, had given it to him since he was hardly more than a baby, and had told him to never part with it, for as long as he kept it, no harm could ever come near him. In general, the wild cat did not need to use his ball, for the lion was fond of hunting, and could kill all the food that they needed. But now and then his life would be in danger had it not been for the golden ball. One day the two brothers started to hunt at daybreak, but as the cat could not run nearly as fast as the lion, he had a long start. At least he thought it was long. But in a few bounds, the springs of the lion reached his side. "There is a bear in that tree," he whispered softly. "He is only waiting for us to pass to drop down on my back." "Ah, you are so big that he could not see from me behind you," answered the wild cat, and touching the ball, he said, "Bear, die!" And the bear tumbled dead out of the tree and rolled over just in front of him. For some time they trotted on without many adventures, till just as they were about to cross a strip of long grass on the edge of the forest, the lion's ears quickly detected a faint rustling noise. "It's the snake," he cried, stopping short, for he was much more afraid of snakes than of bears. "Oh, it is all right," answered the cat. "Snake, die!" And the snake died. And the two brothers skinned it. Then they folded the skin up into a very small parcel, and the cat tucked it into his mane, for snake skins can do all sorts of wonderful things, if you are lucky enough to have one of them. All this time they had had no dinner, and the snake's flesh was not nice, and the lion did not like eating bear, perhaps because he never felt sure that the bear was really dead, and would jump up alive when his enemy went near him. Most people are afraid of something, and bears and serpents were the only creatures that caused the lion's heart to tremble. So the two brothers set off again, and soon reached the side of a hill where some fine deer were grazing. "Kill one of those deer for our dinner," said the boy brother, "but catch me another alive. I want him." The lion at once sprang towards them with a loud roar, but the deer bounded away, and they were all three soon lost to sight. The cat waited for a long while, but finding that the lion did not return, went back to the house where they lived. It was quite dark when the lion came home, where his brother was sitting curled up in one corner. "Did you catch a deer for me?" asked the boy brother, springing up. "Well, no," replied the man brother. "The fact is that I did not get up to them until we had run halfway across the world, and left the wind far behind us. Think what trouble it would have been to drag it here. so I ate them both. The cat said nothing, but he did not feel that he loved his big brother. He had thought a great deal about that deer, and meant to get on the back of him to ride him as a horse, and to go see all the wonderful places the lion talked to about him when he was in a good temper. The more he thought of it, the more sulky he grew, and in the morning the lion said that it was time for them to go start the hunt. The cat told him that he might kill the bear and snake by himself, as he had a headache and would rather stay home. The little fellow knew quite well that the lion would not dare go out without him and his ball for fear of meeting a bear or a snake. The quarrel went on, and for many days neither of the brothers spoke to each other, and what made them still cross was that they could not get very little to eat. And we know that people are often very cross when they get hungry. At last it occurred to the lion that if he could only steal the magic ball, he could kill bears and snakes for himself. And then the cat might be as sulky as he liked for anything that it would matter. But how was the stealing to be done? The cat had the ball hung around his neck all day and night, and he was such a light sleeper that it was useless to think of taking it while he slept. No, the only thing was to get him to lend it of his own accord, and after some days, the lion, who was not at all clever, hit upon a plan that he thought would do it. "Dear me, how dull it is here," said the lion one afternoon, when the rain was pouring down in such torrents that, however sharp your eyes and nose may have been, you could not spy a single bird or beast among the bushes. "Dear me, how dull, how dreadfully dull I am. Couldn't we have a game of catch with that golden ball of yours?" "I don't care about playing catch. It does not amuse me," answered the cat, who was as cross as ever, for no cat, even to this day, ever forgets an injury done to him. See? "Well, then, lend me the ball for a little, and I will play by myself," replied the lion, stretching out a paw as he spoke. "You can't play in the rain, and if you did, you would only lose it in the bushes," said the cat. "Oh, no, I won't. I will play in here. Don't be so ill-natured." And with a very bad grace, the cat untied the string and threw the golden ball into the lion's lap, and composed himself to sleep again. For a long while the lion tossed it up and down gaily, feeling that, however sound asleep his brother might look, he was sure to have one eye open. But gradually he began to edge closer to the opening, and at last he gave the ball such a toss up that it went so high into the air, and he could not see what became of it. "Oh, how stupid of me!" he cried, as the cat sprang up angrily. "Let us go at once and search for it. It can't really have gotten very far." But they searched all day and the next after that, and they never found it, because it never came back down. After the loss of his ball, the cat refused to live with the lion any longer, but wandered away to the north, always hoping he might meet with his ball again. But a few months passed, and years passed, and though he traveled over hundreds of miles, he never saw any traces of it. At length, when he was getting quite old, he came to the place unlike any other that he had seen before, where a big river rolled right at the foot of some high mountains. The ground all over about the river banks was damp and marshy, and as no cat liked to get his feet wet, This one climbed a tree that rose high above the water and thought sadly of his lost ball, which would have helped him out of this horrible place. Suddenly he saw a beautiful ball, for all the world like its own, dangling from a branch in the tree that he was on. He longed to get at it, but the branch was strong enough to bear his weight. It was no use, after all he had done, getting drowned in the water. However, it could do no harm if he was to go a little the way. He could always manage to get back somehow. So he stretched himself at full length upon the branch, wriggled his body cautiously along. To the delight it seemed thick and stout. Another movement, and by stretching out his paw, he would be able to draw the string towards him. While the branch gave a loud crack, the cat made haste to wriggle himself backwards to where he had come. But when the cats make up their minds to do anything, they generally do it. And this cat began to look about to see if there was really no way of getting at his ball. Yes, there was, and it was much surer than the other, though rather more difficult. Above the bough where the ball was hung was another bough, much thicker, which he knew could not break with his weight, and by holding on tight with his all four paws, he could manage to touch the ball with his tail. He would thus be able to whisk the ball to and fro till, by and by, the string would come quite loose, and it would fall to the ground. It might take some time, but the lion's little brother was patient, like most cats. Well, it all happened just as the cat intended it to. When the ball dropped to the ground, the cat ran down the tree like lightning and picked it up, tucking it away in the snakeskin around his neck. Then he began jumping along the shore of the big water, from one place to another, trying to find a boat or even a log of wood that would take him across. But there was nothing. Only on the other side he saw two girls cooking. And though he shouted to them at the top of his voice, they were too far off to hear what he said. And what was worse, the ball suddenly fell out of the snakeskin bag, hanging into the river. Now, it is not all an uncommon thing for balls to tumble into rivers, but in the case of they generally either fall to the bottom and stay there, or else bob about on top of the water where they were first touched it. But this ball, instead of doing either of the things, went straight across to the other side. And there one of the girls saw it, and she stopped to dip some water from her pail. "Oh, what a lovely ball!" she cried, and she tried to catch it in her pail, but the ball always kept bobbing, just out of her reach. "Come and help me!" she cried to her sister, and after a long while they had the ball safe inside the pail. They were delighted with their new toy, and one or the other held it in his hand until bedtime came. And then it was a long time before they could make up their minds where it should be safest for the night. At last they locked it in a cupboard in the corner of the room, and as there was no hole anywhere the ball could possibly get out, after that they fell asleep. In the morning, the first thing they both did was to run to the cupboard and unlock it. But when the door opened, they started back. For instead of a ball, there stood a handsome young man. "Ladies," he said, "how can I thank you for what you have done for me? Long, long ago, I was enchanted by a wicked fairy, and condemned to keep the shape of a ball until I should meet with two maidens, who would take me to their own home. But where was I to meet them? For hundreds of years I had lived in the depths of the forest, where nothing but wild beasts ever came, and it was only when the lion threw me into the sky that I was able to fall to the earth near this river. Where there is a river, sooner or later people will come. So, hanging myself on a tree, I watched and waited. For a moment, I lost heart, but I fell once more into the hands of my old master, the wild cat. But my hopes rose again as I saw he was making for the river opposite where you were standing. That was my chance, and I took it. And now, ladies, I have only one thing to say. If ever I can do anything to help you, go to the top of that high mountain and knock 3 times at the iron door on the north side, and I will come to you. So, with a low bow, he vanished from them, leaving the maidens weeping at having lost both one moment, the golden ball, and the prince.